Mm. Yeah, I have started recording. And if you see the first introduction, in every poem that you study, every poem that you analyze from this textbook, you would always see there is an introduction from editor who is not T.S. Eliot. Okay, so you need to read it well. Here is a description of a city, so you can underline the word description, because description is one important vocabulary that we have to keep in our diary and notebook, because whatever writing that you do as a student from fourth standard, third standard to research scholar, you do descriptive writing, you describe something. So that is why, you if you remember, in the previous poem you have done that poem. What is the name of the poem? If you have done charging that light brigade, in light brigade there was a mentioning of Khongzomlan. Again, Khongzomlan description. Okay, the editor wants you to improve your writing section, your writing skills through this poem. Any poem that you study through these poems, through this literature, you need to learn descriptive writing. So description of a city, that is why he says here is a description of a city. How is the city? It is smelly, not suitable, which is not very good, smelly, wet, okay, wet, and filled with litters. So if I have to identify this kind of place in Manipur, then it will be Pauna Bazar Gully. Okay, gully, if you go through those gullies, it is same, okay, Pauna Bazaar. So it says, it is smelly, wet, and filled with litters. How will you feel about this place? Refreshing and inspiring, or unhealthy and depressing? It is up to you. Now, you are given a training, you are given a lesson on description, how to write description, and then you are you are trained, you are taught to write your opinion. That is why, if you read this, this paragraph, small paragraph, it says here is a description of cities. City, how is a city? Cities which is smelly, wet, and filled with litters. So now a question is being asked to you by the editor. How will you feel about this place? Now you cannot go and find out, the answer anywhere, because this is your feeling, your ideas. But it has a hint. A hint is given whether these kind of places will refresh you or will inspire you, or is it unhealthy or depressing. It is quite known that a place which is not so good, not so uh, I mean fresh, which is smelly, filthy, and wet, and it has lots of litter in that place, will always be known as a place which is unhealthy and depressing. This is quite known to us. So in the next line, it is written, T.S. Eliot finds modern city dull, unhealthy, and cheerless. So you have to remember this for your reference to context, for central idea, for all the questions. Okay, the poem is about a city. Which city which is dull, unhealthy, and cheerless? And who says it? T.S. Eliot, not you. Okay, that is known as comprehension. You read the text and then you answer. Comprehension. You don't write your opinion there. T.S. Next question is, describe how you feel living in your place. Write whether the place is crowded or sparsely populated. Is nature part of your surrounding? Do you feel refreshing and enlivening or depressing? Everybody likes home, especially Manipuri homes are very, very soothing. It's not about concrete, or it's not about, staying in a tower. Manipuri homes have yendem pambi. Manipuri homes have, some vegetable around, and we live with nature. That's the beauty. So you can write about it, you will score marks. If you write about your home, your opinion, you'll get marks if you get this kind. And you don't copy, okay? So now let's read the poem, okay? Now read a poem about a typical modern city, and I quite agree with it, and I like TS Eliot. Again, I always take Ayangba's name because Ayangba once asked me the question that how do you write poem. So now see, this is also a poem. It is not talking about beautiful flowers. It is not talking about anything which is beautiful, soothing, but it is about a city. So when it is about a city also, it is a poem. And why it is a poem, I say to you that in all my class, because it has universal meaning. So this is one trick. Okay, one trick that I will explain to you later. Let's read the poem. Let's do the first reading first. The winter evening settles down with smell of sticks in passageways, 6 o'clock, the burnt-out ends of smoky days, and now a gusty shower wraps the grimy scraps of withered leaves about your feet and newspapers from vacant lots. The showers beat on broken blinds and chimney pots, and at the corner of the street, a lonely horse steams and stamps, and then the lighting of the lamps. I will be fast, okay? The morning comes to consciousness of faint, stale smells of beer from the sawdust trampled street with all its muddy feet that press to early coffee stands with the other masquerades that time resumes. One thinks of all the hands that are raising dingy shades in 1,000 furnished rooms. Okay. When I read this poem, I remember the Rims Road. Okay. Rims Road from your Pauna Bazaar, Uripok to Rims Road. Okay, the same thing. Okay, so if you see, the poem is written by T.S. Eliot in the 20th century. Okay, now it is 21st century. Like I told you in the first poem also, in the first poem, what did I say? That winter is not soothing in Western, countries. In Europe, winter is not soothing. Okay, winter is not soothing. They like summer more. Okay, so it says the winter evening settles down. The setting of the poem, the beginning of the poem, the landscape. If you want to make it a movie, the setting is of evening. Okay, it's evening time and it's settling down. In the evening, what happens? You see fogs around, smokes around. Okay, it's settling down. Okay, with smell of steaks in passageways. You know what is a steak? It's a beef. Okay, piece of beef that is eaten. A steak. People eat steak. Okay, so he says that in the evening, how does it settle? You can smell. You can smell the sticks passageway, the what do you call it, street food. Okay, when somebody is walking, so it's evening and he can smell the sticks. Okay, sticks are being prepared. It's 6 o'clock. So if you see the modern men going to office, coming back at 6 o'clock, not the officers of Manipur government who don't who I think who comes back early. It's about real work. Okay, we are talking about real work. Nobody's laughing because nobody understands what I'm telling. So I'll explain because I want you to laugh. In Manipur, what happens? You get a good job in government office. We don't know whether they attend office or they don't attend office. So 2 o'clock everybody says bye bye. But it is not the case. Okay, if you're working in private or public sector where real audit is there, you have to work till late. Officers are supposed to work very late. Late in the sense 6 o'clock. It's normal time. So in Europe also, people come back from work at 6 o'clock. So the poet or the narrator, okay, is in the evening he comes back home or wherever he stays, he's going back and it is 6 o'clock and he smells sticks in the passageways. Okay, the burnt out ends of smoky days. Burnt out ends of smoky days. It has an image, it has a meaning. Okay, it has a meaning. What is the meaning? If I work a lot without stopping, okay, we says I've got the burnt out. Okay, without holiday, if I ask a student, if I tell my students to keep listening to me, you will be burnt out, you don't want. So one burnt out is that is a metaphor. Another burnt out is cigarette. When you drink, you would have seen people smoking, right? When they do cigarette, it's so the image is that useless. The day is become so the day is compared to burnt out ends of the smoky days. So winter evening is compared to burnt out ends of smoky days. So everything unhealthy, not so pleasant, okay, not so beautiful is written, okay, and telling you the story of city life. Okay, city life. So if I made it a very difficult explanation. Now if I have to make it easy, pause, because I love this poem. That is why I speak a lot. In your level, if I have to tell you, T.S. Eliot talks about winter evening, which is not soothing. Okay, you see the text, not me. Okay, you see the text from the winter to the days. Okay, you see the text. It says, the winter evening settles down. T.S. Eliot talks about a winter evening, okay, which is settling down. It's 6 o'clock, and he smells the sticks when he was passing, okay, and he's comparing the evening with burnt out smoky days, like a cigarette which has been smoked. That's all. You need not even, when you listen to me carefully, when you read it again with the text, you will remember everything. So let's go to the next stanza. And the next stanza says, and now a gusty shower rips. Even in Manipur in winter, if you have a rain, you won't like it in the winter. Okay, so it is already unpleasant. Okay, the evening is not beautiful. In such a tough time, tough evening, what does T.S. Eliot experience? He experienced a gusty shower raps. You know what is a gusty? Gusty is strong, right? Gusty is strong. Cold evening atmosphere with worse by rain covers. So gusty shower wraps, the grimy scraps. The grimy scraps. What is the grimy scraps? Dirty. Okay, wraps, covers, the grimy, dirty, scraps, small pieces of papers, clothes, leaves, etc. So the city streets are not neat and clean. It's like a Dreams Road. You see lots of litter around. Okay, and when it rains in the evening, oh, the condition is becoming worse. Okay, of wither leaves about your feet. Your feet, khong na natsanbado. What do you do? Withered. uh, uh, kari yening tha gi opposite to kari naken tha da ka tawi winter the leaves tai ko leaves ma'am ta badu khong na netsale. It's a setting. If you see, I don't know, as I am a person of literature. I love the poem. I can see while I read, I can actually see the setting. I'm sure you would also see it. So to make you understand it better, I said it's just like the Rims Road, okay, which is not kind of koila thadaba, and you will see lots of litters around. And in the rainy days in Manipur, you will see the roads are not that soothing, okay. So he says that, and now a gusty shower rapes the grimy scraps of withered leaves about your feet and newspapers from vacant lots. The showers beat on broken blinds and chimney pots and the corner of the street. So you see the pictures, the images, the words he used. Newspapers. There is a use of newspapers. Pieces of newspapers everywhere, vacant plots of lands in between building, the places. It's not at all soothing. It is not like your Khalil Gibral, who talked about, see the light, the flowers, so beautiful. opposite of that poem, and the editor has taken it because the editor wants you to understand it. What is that he says that uh, there is litters, newspaper, leaves, clothes, all the things which are not soothing, okay, and they are in the corner of the street, and at the corner of the street a lonely kept horse steams and stamps, and then the lightening of the lamps. So the lonely is a trick word, okay, the person who's lonely, who's sad, okay. Cab, you know what is a cab, you know what is a cab. Again, cab is difficult to pronounce, okay, you can also try, you will say cab. Actually it is not cab, it is cab. Okay, so when I say cab, k sound is aspirated in English, so you will see sometimes people say Tom, cab. So for Mitai, it's very good because our K is so soft. Mayanks will have problem saying cab because when you try to say cab, Mitai is our language, so that is the bonus point. Okay, so cab. Okay, let me not deviate my lesson to pronunciation. I just try to give what is difficult for you. Cab. So you have to say cab. So if you want to say cab, K should be aspirated, not hindi gi ka do nate ko hindi da kabutar ka do nate ko maitai lon gi ka ga khamana do ne maitai lon gi ka is soft oiba aduna aspirated oiraga cap. You will say cap nate ko cap nate ngasagi lap. Remember we did that lap, okay. So that way, bat, cap. So this is one difficult word, so I want you to note it down. A lonely horse, a lonely cab horse steams and stamps, and then the lightning of the lamps. So in the picture you can see cab hai the taxi, and how people used to use taxi those days horses were being used to pull the passengers, okay. We are talking about 20th century England. So people had started lightening the lamps because it is evening. Okay, so the evening is done. The description of evening. The first two stanzas are description of evening. Now see how morning is described. The morning comes to consciousness. Now when evening is ended, now it is morning of faint stale smells of beer. So I'm sorry, I do not know why they are teaching you. You are not even 18, you cannot drink. So alcohol, people sleep in the city by drinking alcohol. So when they wake up, they're, they're, they smell of beer in their mouth, Yunam Namba. So in Manipuri it is Yunam Namba, and we are writing, if you say Yunam Namba, we don't like it, but we are actually reading TS Eliot's Yunam Namba as a text. So you can actually use it, okay? So he says, the morning comes to consciousness of faint, stale smells of beer from the sawdust trampled street with all its muddy feet that press to early coffee stands. So it's like, uh, people sleep with alcohol. They wake up, most of them, okay? And when you wake up, when you go to work, what do you find? Sawdust trampled street. As it rained. Like home thok tanaba. Sawdust, na what is sawdust? Manipuri dasu like do usu bada taba makupto. Usubada taba sawdust adu thazallidana khoizu haidi kai nong chotanaba, we put that. So those are the streets. So it's very very identifiable with us, with all its muddy feet, muddy, there are muds around that press to early coffee stands. In the city people don't cook. If it's a very very vivid description of industrialization, okay, when industry comes, how people live, okay, with the other masquerades, what is the masquerades? Various activities which are not meaningful. You have thousands of work around you. That time resumes, one thinks of all hands and are raising dingy shades. What is the dingy shades? In the morning, People are engaged in various routine activities. The dull movement of their hands throw shadows on the dirty walls. City dwellers in the morning are engaged in the same routine dull activities. Okay, now I'll explain to you. Wait, it's a text explanation. In 1,000 furnished rooms. So the idea of the poem is divided into two parts. Okay, evening and the morning. In both the sections, the poet talks about unhealthy lifestyle of people living in big cities, and he has given examples. In the evening, what were the example? It is winter, it is raining, stick smells are there. Yes, stick smells are there. You can see litters around. You are feeling burnt out coming from work. You go to your room. How much it cost? 1,000 furnished rooms. You have beautiful rooms in the city which are furnished. You have expensive sofas around, furnishing. You have expensive tables. You have expensive gadgets around. You live there. But how do you sleep? You sleep with alcohol. Your life is not healthy. So when you wake up with the smell of beer that you have drunk last night. Okay, and then you start doing your mundane job, masquerades, many job which is not meaningful. What I am doing is meaningful for me, but some people, it is my opinion, if a person is living this kind of life is not meaningful, you start doing that. So now in the morning, you don't do anything good. You just live a very mundane and a very, what do you call it, soulless life. Okay, life is meaningless. This is what T.S. Eliot says. So I'm sure you have understood it. Now I'll explain, because we will make it little interactive. Okay, and